First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to address this audience and to talk about the top foreign policy priority for Georgia, which is full integration to NATO. And Georgia is one of the most advanced aspirant country, and it's well recognized for our fact that there are all practical tools which Georgia has, the annual national program, NATO Georgia Council, as well as substantial NATO Georgia package, which is really very helpful to speed up the process of eventual goal of Georgia, which is a full membership. At the same time, in the region, in the Black Sea region, which is becoming more and more important place of attention to NATO. One of the main security challenge comes from Russia. As we speak right now, the process of occupation is going on in Georgia. It's a legal process of borderization, installation of barbed wire fences and artificial barriers across the occupation line. People are kidnapped, they are detained in illegal custody. The normal people are suffering there, and just recently the famous Georgian doctor was kidnapped and sentenced to illegal custody. Unfortunately, for the time being, he is still there, and we are trying to consolidate support of international community. But it's what we are facing there is the humanitarian disaster, and we. In response to this, we are trying to consolidate support, and we believe that the Georgia's way towards integration to Euro-Atlantic structure is not directed against the third party. It's for strengthening our defense capability, for strengthening our resilience. You have mentioned Turkey, which is important country in the Black Sea region. It's a literal state, also a member of the NATO. And we are developing very strong strategic partnership with Turkey. So Turkey is a very strong ally to Georgia. So Turkey still continues and will continue to support Georgia's NATO aspiration and Georgia's supporting Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. So it's in our interest to stabilize the security situation in the region with taking into consideration all legitimate interests of all NATO member states and the littoral states of the Black Sea region, because without secure Black Sea there will be no security in the Euro-Atlantic security space.
I know I'm being provocative here, but honestly, should Turkey be a member of NATO anymore? Do you feel that they are undermining the alliance? Anyone, sir?
Yes, of course. But first, coming back to your previous question, that about the terrorism, whether it's a threat or not, or challenge. Of course, this is a very serious threat and challenge. And what is important to underline that it's, of course, there are 29 members, there are different positions and different evaluation of the current threats and challenges, but it's really important to stay united. The united position, solidarity within NATO partners is really important. As an outsider, but not a member of the NATO, our advice and our wishful thinking for.
But I suppose that was my point, that Turkey clearly didn't feel any obligation to stay united.
Turkey is really important player in the region. It's needless to say the important contribution Turkey is doing for the strengthening of the European security.
So the refugee wave, which can also be a destabilizer, it can be an issue of...
Same is about Georgia. We have our own refugees, and more than 300,000, almost 400,000. It's almost 10% of Georgian population. We have our internally displaced persons, and people are really suffering. What we are facing in our occupied regions is a humanitarian disaster. The population is decreasing 5-6 times, and we are dealing with the problem. We have our moral and legal obligation toward these people, to alleviate suffering of those who are displaced because of occupation and crippled annexation of these territories.
More than 10 years ago, and still you're waiting outside the door. I mean, do you feel frustrated? Are you beginning to feel that you could be betrayed by NATO? Mr. Zalkaliani?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. The decision made during the Bucharest summit back in 2008 was more than 10 years ago, and this is the decision where clearly describes that Georgia will become the NATO member. Since then, there were a lot of summit meetings and also with the different decisions and declarations that Georgia will become a NATO member. Of course, we realize that the current situation within the NATO, that there is no political decision made yet, but we are fully using all the existing practical tools, as I have mentioned, the implementation of annual national program as well, NATO-Georgia Council, the substantial NATO-Georgia package, which is also important practical way to speed up the process of Georgia's full integration, moving Georgia closer to the eventual membership. So these are the very important instruments. At the same time, Georgia is already acting like an ally. So we are in the same line as the NATO standards, for example, on burden sharing. 2% we are spending on GDP, 20% on major military acquisition. Georgia is the biggest per capita contributor to the resolute support mission in Afghanistan. Although we have suffered casualties, 32 Georgians died in Afghanistan. For a small country like Georgia, it's quite a big loss, but we realize that this is our contribution to the global security. Of course, when this is not reciprocated, when a country like Georgia delivers, it has to be reciprocated. We need a practical political solution, but we are not discouraged by this fact. We are continuing our vigorous efforts. We are working bilaterally with all the members of the alliance, with the strategic partner, with the United States, with Turkey, with France, with Germany, to increase our defense and security capabilities in order to increase our resilience. So we are doing everything possible to prepare country for the momentum. When this momentum is, momentum to come, we have to be ready for this momentum.
10 seconds, what would your message be to NATO? Really short, snappy. What would your message be to NATO for the next 10 years? Priorities.
Georgia, please keep Georgia, please.
From Lithuania's point of view.